Hello and welcome back to Glitterature Alley. I am Tootight Lautrec, the Master Mistress of Glitterature Alley, and here we are once again at the bottom of the down staircase in the permanently sequestered remainder section of an unnamed local library, which may or may not have two lions couchant on the front steps settled down for good so they can watch the world bloom. Much like the heroine of the book that we're going to be considering today on Pulitzer Who? The Town by Conrad Richter. A book and a writer heretofore completely unknown to moi, which goes to show just how much or how little I actually know. But before we get into The Town, let's do what we always do and take a gander at other books published in 1950 that didn't quite make the cut. Among those are Across the River and Into the Trees by some guy named Ernest Hemingway, Burning Bright by John Steinbeck, The Family Mosquet by Isaac Bashevis Singer, which was the first book that he wrote in English, Flood Tide by Frank Yerby, Foxfire by Anya Seton, Joy Street by Francis Parkinson Keyes, which was the second best-selling book in 1950, and which I have also never heard. A Long Day's Dying by Frederick Buechner, The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury, Strangers on a Train by Patricia Highsmith, which I still have not read, but I really would like to read. The Town and the City by Jack Kerouac, but the 1951 Pulitzer Prize for Fiction goes to The Town by Conrad Richter. So Conrad Richter was born in 1890 on October 13th, and he lived till October 30th, 1968. He was born in Pine Grove, Pennsylvania, to parents who traced their roots back through a long line of Pennsylvania Dutch settlers. He moved to Ohio as a young man, working odd jobs and writing on the side, and one of his early stories landed in the best short stories of 1915. He later married, moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico for his wife's health, and from that point forward shuttled back and forth between New Mexico and Pennsylvania for the rest of his life. He wrote 15 novels. I don't know how I've never heard of him. He did write 15 novels. He wrote 3 short story collections, and The Town is the third novel in a trilogy called The Awakening Land. And that consists of the trees. Oh, let me get my sticky little desk here in order. The Awakening Land is the trilogy, and it starts with the trees. The next book is The Fields, and the last book is The Town. And the trilogy follows the life of one Sayward Wheeler, who is a settler in the Ohio River Valley, and she, and the place where she has settled, changes over the years, and that's what these books are about. Now, Louis Bromfield, who wrote the wonderful book Early Autumn, which also won the Pulitzer Prize, and which I dearly loved, had this to say about the Awakening Land trilogy and about The Town. The 3 books are not only concerned with Sayward and her family, but the growth and the astonishingly rapid development of a whole area which has played a key role in the nation's history. The Town stands on its own as an entity and may be read on its own as a full, rich, and comprehensive novel based upon the lives of ordinary people, brave and ever heroic in their own small way. So, The Town focuses on Sayward and her family of 10 children, actually only 9 living children, and her husband Porcius, who is a lawyer and a judge and a drinker and a gambler, and quite a gadabout town, we'll say. And Porcius convinces Sayward to sell parcels of the land that she has acquired as a pioneer over the course of the trilogy, so that the town can become more developed, and so that Portia and Sayward can become the wealthiest citizens in town, actually. So the book follows Sayward most closely, but also Chansey, the youngest of the 9 surviving children. And Chansey is a quiet, sickly, sensitive dreamer given to flights of fancy that veer into complete fiction. And as the novel progresses, Chansey grows older, he becomes more and more disillusioned with the town and with the family. Now, there's a point in his teens that Chansey develops a relationship with one Rosa Trench, a poor girl who lives on the edge of town with her crazy mother and her poor, trashy father and siblings. And, spoiler alert, if you don't want to know, turn off now. We learn about maybe a quarter of the way through the novel that Rose's mother had once been a school teacher in the town, and she had an affair with Portius, got pregnant by Portius, was abandoned by Portius, and then went crazy, burrowing herself in the house, marrying a poor wastrel. She stopped washing, she stopped going out and talking to people, she just became a crazy person. And so that means that Rosa is Chansey's half-sister, but neither of them know this for a good long while after they meet, and then they become more and more enamored of one another, and neither of them quite understands why both of their parents forbid them to see one another, but of course, being young kids, they do what they want to do and don't give a damn what the family says. So he doesn't understand why they're forbidden to see each other, and as a result, his resentment against the family grows and grows and grows, and the relationship between Rosa and Chansey, without giving away too many spoilers, does not end well. And by not well, I mean really, really, really not well. So Chansey moves away, becomes a poet and a journalist, and writes scathing diatribes against his family, who have become quite prominent. Sayward and Portius have become almost the wealthiest citizens in the city, and his brother actually becomes a governor of the state. And so he grows from a sickly, sensitive child, dreamer of a child, into kind of a jerk of a man. And the book, in many ways, follows the growth and disillusionment and the too little too late realizations of immaturity of Chansey as he grows through disillusionment into a rather uncomfortable realization that he is a jerk. So that's the basic outlines of the book. The town is very well written. I was interested in watching this family evolve and watching the town grow and watching the struggle between generations play out. But what, Tootight Lautrec, you might ask? What kept you reading, or what stopped you reading? Well, there are some books whose plots keep you on the edge of your seat, reading forward to find out, and then what happened, and then what happened, and then what happened. The Town is not one of these books. Rather, it's an enjoyable, slow read, kind of a slow burn through the lives and travails of this family. And this is a delicate and difficult thing to accomplish for a writer. And when I think about the elements of fiction and what makes for a really good read, they include language, of course, or sometimes what's called the voice of the narration. Plot, yes. What happens, how it happens, what conflicts arise and how they are surmounted or not. Character development. Are these characters believable, interesting, confounding, or entertaining enough to continue to entertain me as a reader and want me to keep staying with them? Themes, of course. Are there any heavy-handed ideas that the writer has to pound away at? Or does the unfolding of events seem natural? And do they make us think about issues that are brought up philosophically or intellectually or in a deeper emotional way than we would have ordinarily had we not read the book. And lastly, setting or environment. Is this a time or a place that we find interesting, and is it described in such a way that it actually is interesting? So that's a lot for a writer to juggle. And it's easy to just sit back as a writer and convince yourself, well, it's interesting to me. So I got a sense of these kinds of faults by reading Guard of Honor, the way that he is so enamored of the voice. Also with the characters in Scarlet Sister Mary, and in the descriptions of settings in Lamb in His Bosom. And all of these books, if you look back on my list of things that I've covered so far, are among the worst that I have read for this Pulitzer Who series. They felt like the products of self-satisfied writers who only want to interest themselves and aren't really concerned about their readers. And this is a big danger for all writers, and it's not one that's easily surmounted. And at some point after I finish this Pulitzer Who series, and I think I have 4 or 5 more books, because as we get closer to the 1980s, I'm becoming more and more familiar with the books that have been written, and so they don't qualify for the Pulitzer Who category. But after that is done, I'm going to be reading whatever I want to read, and I may start a series called Reading as a Writer. And I know a writer who has some thoughts on this. And so that will be the series that I begin in a little while, when I finish this. So, qualms. Do I have qualms about this book? I don't really have many qualms about this book. I think that Conrad Richter met the brief about what satisfies in a novel. It is quite interesting. It is very well read, very well written. The characters are interesting enough to want to be around them or to stay with them through time, and they're not static and they do change. Do I recommend it? I do recommend it. It's a pretty good book. It's not tippy top of my list, but it's not the bottom of my list either. So if you're looking to read about the development of the Ohio River Valley, or intergenerational struggles within a family, or the strain and struggle and benefits to an area as it changes from rural to urban, then you'll probably like this book, The Town by Conrad Richter. Was there wonder in this book? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I had to look for it now and then. But, and it's a big but, paying attention and keeping yourselves attuned to look for the wonder that is in your world is an endeavor that is always profitable. So, you know the score. It's there. Pay attention. Until we meet again, I am Tootight Lautrec. Mwah.